Love, love, until I feel the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Hello and welcome to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. Today we have Father Peter Ferwerda here, who is a Catholic priest from one of the parishes in northern Victoria, and we're going to be discussing Our Lady Queen of Peace's message from the 2nd of November 2016. Welcome to the program, Father.
Thank you very much, Mirella.
And before we start the message from Medjugorje, you actually just went to Medjugorje, you're just fresh off the plane.
Yes, it's about a month since I've returned from Medjugorje. It was my 20th visit there.
Wow.
And each visit has been a unique experience, a wonderful experience for me.
Beautiful.
So I'm very grateful to have been there.
Lovely. And was there something you wanted to say before we read Mary's message?
Yes, I just want to reaffirm my that whatever the Church decides about Medjugorje, about its authenticity, I want to say that I abide by whatever the Church finds concerning Medjugorje.
Beautiful. All right, well, we'll start with the message from the 2nd of the month. I'll read it through as usual, and then we'll just go through it sentence by sentence.
Thank you, Mirella.
Our Lady Queen of Peace said on the 2nd of November 2016, "Dear children, to come to you and to make myself known to you is a great joy for my motherly heart. It is a gift from my Son for you and for others who are coming. As a mother, I am calling you, love my Son above everything. In order to love him with all your heart, you need to come to know him. You will come to know him through prayer. Pray with the heart and with your feelings. To pray means to think of his love and sacrifice. To pray means to love, to give, to suffer, and to offer. I'm calling you, my children, to be apostles of prayer and love. My children, it is a time of vigilance. In this vigil, I am calling you to prayer, love, and trust, as my Son will be looking in your hearts. My motherly heart desires for him to see unconditional trust and love in them. The united love of my apostles will live, will conquer, and will expose evil. My children, I was a chalice of the God-man. I was God's instrument. That is why I am calling you, my apostles, to be a chalice of the true and pure love of my Son. I am calling you to be an instrument through which all those who have not come to know the love of God, who have never loved, may comprehend, accept, and be saved. Thank you, my children." So I'll start with the first sentence, Father. Our Lady said, "Dear children, to come to you and to make myself known to you is a great joy for my motherly heart." So straight away she's just saying this position she's in, being able to appear to us, is a great joy for her. So we should be happy. We should be really happy when we think about it like that.
Yes, it makes me happy to read these messages because I feel that I've got a mother in heaven. My other natural mother is in heaven, we hope, and we pray for that. But we have a mother in heaven, and she calls all of us her children, no matter whether we're Catholic or whatever religion or of no religion. She calls all of us her children.
Exactly.
It's a very motherly attitude she has towards us, very comforting.
Yeah.
We can feel that we can go to our mum, so as to speak, who's in heaven.
That's true. Our Lady said, "It is a gift from my Son for you and for others who are coming. It is a gift from my Son for you and for others who are coming. So the fact that she's coming there, it's a gift from Jesus. Jesus must have said, you have to go as a gift to the people in the world. So we've got this gift of her. We should be all rejoicing, really. We see how powerful it is.
Mary is very humble, and everything that she says and does points to Jesus. Sometimes people misconceive how we as Catholics see Mary. She is not God. We never adore her as such. We venerate her because she's the greatest of all the saints. But she is, at the same time, she's extremely humble. She always, in her messages, it comes through that she's grateful that Jesus allows her to give these messages to us on his behalf. So she's so humble. She recognises perfectly her position in the universe.
It's beautiful. As a mother, I'm calling you. Love my Son above everything. When I read that, I just loved that. I just thought, because you get so entangled with, you know, your relationships with all the different people that you know and everything, but then you think, love my Son above everything. Even that line just gives you peace, you know, just like, because you know that's the right thing, and it feels right and it feels peaceful.
Yes. And I'm sure you experience this too. I certainly do, and I hope everyone who's watching this program does. But whenever you pray, a certain peace comes over you, and that can only come from Jesus, that sort of peace. Peace that comes from Jesus is the best peace to have. And he wants to share himself with everyone, those who know him and those who have yet to come to know him. He wants to give us his peace, and it's there for the asking if we wish to ask him for it.
That's it, and you just have to take the time and not think it's boring, because that's, I think, what people might put people off. I think it's boring to pray, but the peace you get outweighs anything on earth, you know, any feeling on earth. It's just...
And Jesus tells us about himself in prayer. I've never been a great reader, but I've learned a lot just through prayer, and I hope everyone else has that same experience just through prayer.
All right, we'll have to go to a break now. You're watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Father Peter Ferwerda, who's a Catholic priest from Northern Victoria, and we are discussing Our Lady Queen of Peace's message from November the 2nd, 2016. Welcome back to the program, Father.
Thank you very much, Mirella.
And I'll continue to where we left off in the sentences of Mary's message. Our Lady said, in order to love him with all our heart, you need to come to know him. And when I read that, I was thinking, we need to come to know him. And as I'm reading, I'm thinking, I wonder if she's going to tell us, before I got to the next line, I was thinking, I wonder if she's going to tell us how to come to know him, or we just have to work at trying to come to know him. And then she says, straight after, you will come to know him through prayer. And I thought, that's so beautiful. And then she says, pray with the heart and with your feelings. So what would you like to say about that, Father?
Yes, being human beings, we all have feelings, sometimes feelings of joy, sometimes feelings of sadness, sometimes feelings of anger. That's part of being the human condition. But when we pray to, as I see it anyway from that sentence, she wants us to use our emotions that we're given as human beings to really enter into that prayer. And to, in other words,
which is the best way, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I don't feel like, sometimes when if I just say prayers, like structured prayers, sometimes I don't feel like I connect as much, but if I say what's really in my heart, really deep in my heart, I feel like I really connect on a much deeper level.
Yes.
Even though both prayers are equally as valid, like you really need to say Hail Marys and Our Fathers, which I do as well. But unless you say them really by thinking, like when Miriana was asked, how do you pray the Our Father? And she says, I think she says she prays it when she really feels everything she's saying. And then she said, her eyes lit up, and she said, you should see the way Mary prays Our Father. You know, you just, you wouldn't imagine what it's like to see her say Our Father, because she prays it with so much feeling in her heart. So we have to pray all the prayers with just as much feeling.
Yes, that's...
as long as we pray as well, though, isn't it?
Yes, sometimes, and I've done it myself, sometimes we rattle off our prayers without thinking too much about them. Yeah. But Mary, I think, prefers that we say it with feeling, as you've just said. Yeah. So it's a beautiful statement.
So she's told us how to pray and how to get to know Jesus, and that's through praying with feeling. Pray with the heart and with your feelings. To pray means to think of his love and sacrifice. I thought this was amazing, because I was thinking, I thought she was talking about pray with feeling about your own feelings, what's in your heart, but she's saying to pray means to think of his love and sacrifice. So it means forget about your own little problems and just pray by thinking about Jesus' love and sacrifice. And I thought that lifts it up to another scale. If you pray and you just think about Jesus' love and sacrifice, it lifts you up above whatever you're complaining or worrying about, and it lifts you to a different level.
Yes, you're right, Mirella. I think that's why it's so important to have crucifixes in our homes, or a picture of the Sacred Heart, or a beautiful statue of Our Lady, or one of the saints, because these help us to fix on to whom we're praying, Jesus or Mary, and to look at a crucifix and perhaps go even to kiss the feet of Jesus, to kiss the crucifix, to show that we really are appreciative of his giving his life for us. Yeah,
I remember once, years ago, and there was something that really, really upset me so deeply. And I remember I was in my room, and I was thinking, how am I going to get over this? It was something like a very, very, very deep suffering, and I just, of my own, and I was thinking, oh, how am I going to get over this? And I thought, in that moment, why don't you just love Jesus forsaken in your own suffering? Think of Jesus on the cross. Well, instead of thinking of your suffering, really think of Jesus on the cross suffering, how it was for him. And I stopped what I was doing and I just transformed the way I was thinking. And I thought, no, I'm just going to think of Jesus on the cross and really how he suffered.
Yes.
And then after I went through that, I thought, okay, now clean your room, get things in order. Live the present moment. Forget about everything now and just start living the present moment and love in the present moment. And then after I had gone through all of that, there was a knock on the door. All of it was, straight after each other. And I opened the front door there, and there was a man standing with this bunch of flowers for me. And it was night time, and I'd opened the door, and I thought, this is so amazing, all consequential, it was straight after each other. And it was from a friend of mine, a boyfriend at the time, years ago. And I thought, this is amazing, but it's like it was from God, because the stars are out, and, these flowers arrived by courier. And I just thought it was just amazing. And it was I felt like it was really from loving Jesus forsaken in that moment.
Yes.
Thinking of him, thinking of his suffering.
Yes, that's
instead of my own.
Well, we tend to think of ourselves a lot. I'm the same. I'm human like anyone else. And we tend to be self-centered. It's due to the, as I see it anyway, because of the sin of Adam and Eve, we're all left sort of in a weakened state in which we tend to be self-centered, and sometimes we consciously need to go against that sort of feeling within ourselves, and that's why having images around us, particularly holy images, are so important, because they draw us away from perhaps self-centeredness and focus us onto what Jesus has done and how he gave every moment of his life, really. When he was walking around Palestine, he gave every moment of his life an attention for our salvation. And to think about that helps us to respond to that, so that we feel perhaps at times a little less self-centered.
Beautiful. And Our Lady said, to pray means to love, to give, to suffer and to offer. And when I was reading that, I was thinking, does she mean to love, to give, to suffer and to offer, just thinking of how Jesus loved, gave and suffered and offered? Or does she mean in our own self, to love someone, to give something to someone, to suffer for someone, like to suffer in a situation and offer it up instead of wallowing in it.
Yes, yes, to pray. Yes, that sentence is a very beautiful sentence. I see it anyway, the latter, that to means to love Jesus, not to love ourselves so much, but to love Jesus, to respond to his love. And that's hence my comment about having a crucifix in the house. That's the best way to catapult you into a love of response, is to see an image of what he has suffered for us. And then we're more likely to give ourselves and say, Lord, I'll do this little action for you, or I'll suffer this little mishap or humiliation that I'm suffering now in thanksgiving to you and in union with your suffering.
All right, thank you. We'll have to go to a break now, Father.
Thank you, Morella.
You're watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Father Peter Ferwerda, who is a Catholic parish priest in Northern Victoria. And we're discussing Our Lady Queen of Peace's message from Medjugorje from the 2nd of November 2016. Welcome back to the program, Father.
Thank you very much, Morella.
All right, so we'll get straight back into it. Our Lady said, to pray means I am calling you, my children, to be apostles of prayer and love. My children, it is a time of vigilance. In this vigil, I am calling you to prayer, love and trust. As my Son will be looking in your hearts, my motherly heart desires for him to see unconditional trust and love in them. So here she's saying, I love how she's saying it, because everybody's always asking about the secrets. What are the secrets? What are the secrets? Because there are secrets given to the visionaries. And here she's saying, she's already giving us a little hint of a warning. This is a time of vigilance. It's the first time I've noticed her really say anything to really watch out. So this is a time of vigilance. And she's saying that Jesus is actually looking in our hearts now. He will be looking in our hearts. Meaning, I guess when we die, he will be looking in our hearts to see how we lived on earth. Did we live authentically on earth? Were we true to our hearts? Were we loving, to our best ability? I just really love this part of the message as well.
Yes, it's of course Jesus knows all of what we're thinking, as he did in his own time on the earth. He knew exactly what people were thinking, but at the same time he wanted people nevertheless to express themselves to him, people coming to him for seeking a miracle of healing of some sort, of sight or hearing or lameness, and he wanted them to express themselves. And in the same way, even though he knows what's in our hearts, he wants us to express ourselves to him, humanly speaking. And in that way we also get to know ourselves by expressing ourselves. That's why it's so important to go to the sacrament of confession, that we have a chance to express ourselves, how we see ourselves and what our needs are, needs of forgiveness and so forth. So Jesus is looking for honesty, and Mary is encouraging us to speak from our hearts, how we feel, how we see things. King David does that so beautifully in the Psalms. He exposes himself beautifully in the Psalms as to what he's thinking all the time, and we are to do the same. It's a beautiful invitation by Mary to express ourselves with an open heart.
And she also says for him to see unconditional trust and love in him. And I think what she means is that we have to have unconditional trust and love in Jesus, that it is in his hands. He hears our prayers and he's looking after everything. Yes. We have to have that unconditional trust and love that he is actually doing that.
Yes, he loves us to have faith in him, exactly what you say, to trust him, that our prayers, even though they may not seem to be answered in exactly the way we would like them to be answered, we have to be humble there and say, Lord, you know better than I do. I'm praying for such and such, or for this intention or that intention. or for such and such a person to be healed or whatever. But Lord, I know that you will do what's the best for him or for her or for me. So we need to have that trust, and that again, that comes through prayer. Of the 13,000 odd messages that Mary has given since 1981, there's only a handful that don't mention the word pray or prayer. So that's Our Lady's main thrust in all of these messages, to get all of us praying, irrespective of what religion we are, to pray to God.
Yeah, beautiful. Our Lady then said, the united love of my apostles, I love that, the united love of my apostles will live, will conquer and will expose evil. Sometimes you wonder if you're getting through to someone, like a family member or a relative or someone very close to you, and you just think, the united love of my apostles, like it's almost like where two or three are gathered in my midst, Jesus said, I am there. And it's like, if we have that with someone, at least one person, and say you're around someone who doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in Jesus, if you at least have one other person with you, that love that you show there will conquer, will live, and will expose evil. Like it's so powerful.
It's just what you say, when two or three of us are gathered in Jesus' name, he is there. His living presence is there. So that prayer actually lives, if you know what I mean. It's a living prayer that we're saying, and he's there listening to us and responding to us. And we must remember that he always has our best interests at heart, even though sometimes we may not see it, but we've got to trust that Jesus always has, and Mary, have our best interests at heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Our Lady said, my children, I was a chalice of the God-man. I was God's instrument. That is why I am calling you, my apostles, to be a chalice of the true and pure love of my Son. I am calling you to be an instrument through which all those who have not come to know the love of God, who have never loved, may comprehend, accept, and be saved. Thank you, my children. That's so powerful. She's hoping that if we are around people who don't believe in God, Jesus and Mary and the Catholic Church, that we are the apostles, that we have Jesus in us, that they will at least accept and believe, accept, comprehend, and be saved. I think I just love that.
Yes, it's so important, because we need supernatural help all the time, and when we're in conversation with people who perhaps think very differently to ourselves, it's a good idea to just pray while you're actually talking to those people. Say, Lord, how am I going to respond to that? You give me the words that I'm meant to say to this person. And we must remember to thank him when he does give us those words.
And sometimes it's not even words. Like sometimes you might talk and talk until you feel like you've said everything, you've turned over every stone. There's nothing more to say. Then I think it's just prayer and love and living and being an example as best you can.
Yes, God is the one who works. He's the one who works through us, and all we have to say is, Lord, you use me the way you want me to be used by you. Help me, and to keep praying to him for guidance all the time, so that we feel that he's with us and that we are what we say is coming from him as best as possible.
That's beautiful. We've come to the close of the program. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Mirella. It's wonderful to be able to talk about Jesus and Mary.
Thank you. And it's lovely to have you here, and it's lovely that you just come back from Medjugorje as well. It's beautiful you had that trip there.
Thank you, Mirella.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich, and our guest was Father Peter Ferwerda. We'll see you again soon.